All right. Let's see. Get this music out of here. What is up, my friends? Good to see you all. The few of you who showed up at this somewhat random, stealthy stream that I decided to do today. I got a big weekend planned for myself and the family, so I'm not going to be able to stream this Saturday as I was planning to. But yeah, let's see who we got here. Cindy, Lilah, Sans Serif. Man, the music seems a little loud, doesn't it? Let me turn that down a little bit. Wait, here we go. Gonna bring that down just a little bit. It's even loud for me, so I thought it was a little too low before, but maybe I was wrong there. I brought up the volume level a little bit. Alright, so we got Cindy, Lilah, Sans Serif, Punchable Face, Mr. 115, Terico, Pamela. Hello there, my friends. Good to see you all. I hope you're all having a good week. It's Wednesday. And, yeah. Wanted to jump on real quick and get some stories read so that I can keep up with my commitment of what I think I'm a little over halfway now, I think, of one video a week. I was going to try 6 months and see if I could get some traction rebuilt on YouTube and see what happens. And it's been doing pretty good so far. So far, so good. And I know this stream is probably not going to have as much of the traffic as I normally get because it's a Wednesday night. But hopefully whoever's here and listening will do their best to contribute to the future video by adding in your comments and asking questions and putting in your observations, stuff like that, so I could talk about it at the end of the video. Donald Lee, hello there, my friend. Good to see you. And all right, Lilah, you said the sound is always good. Good. Glad to hear that. I'm a little burpy today. You guys won't hear that because I'll mute myself out of sheer courtesy, but yeah, it's hopefully it doesn't bother me too much. Oh my goodness, Cindy, you're really picking up the slack today because I wasn't expecting too many sponsors on this stream because it's so out of the ordinary, but thank you so much for that very generous super chat. As you all know, Cindy knows because she's a repeat offender here, I should say. If you send any super chat, you automatically become a sponsor of the video series based on the stories that I read in this show. So far it's Cindy, and it might be just Cindy, and she will sponsor the next, these four next episodes that show up. Jean-Paul Shelton, hello there, my friend. Salute to you too. Yeah, that would be really funny if I say on the next 4 videos, hey, this video was brought to you by Cindy, and that's it. That'd be hilarious. I almost kind of want that to happen just because it would be so funny. Hello there, Brett. I didn't see you there. My bad. All right, so someone said paranormal stories. I got a few stories to choose from. I have one ghost story that's not been read on this channel before. I believe it's based off of a Reddit post that I saw and got the permission to read and talk about on my channel. So I got that. I could throw that into the mix. I've got a couple of reduxes. The laughing monster, this interdimensional weird creature that was in the woods off of somewhere near Cape Cod, whatever state that's in. That was an interesting one, and I really revamped it to a pretty nice degree. Cloud Girl, Lady Draco, hello there, my friends. Good to see you. I should just shut off super chats just to make sure Cindy is the only sponsor for this entire month of videos. That'd be kind of funny. I'm not gonna do that though. I don't want to put Cindy on the spot. I've got sort of related to a video I did a couple weeks ago, the mimic video. There's the one that was referenced in that story about an encounter with basically some sort of mimic doppelganger creature that takes a form similar to a human-faced centipede. I've got that one. That's a very old story on my channel, one of the earlier ones that I did. And, yeah, what do you say we throw that into the mix there? That one's not super long. I'll probably do the long stories and then I'll do the short ones later. I start with the long ones, end with the short ones. Chuki, or Chucky L, what's up, my friend? Okay, I got one about, wait, is this a Reddit story or is it a, no, this is another old story that I redid recently about shadow people that are actually somewhat good and helpful. Pretty interesting. And let me see here, got that. Maybe I'll do the laughing monster. Or, well, I also do have another newer one about, I can't really remember what it was about. It's called The Girl in the Water. I would have to honestly read it live and find out what it was about alongside you guys, because I don't remember. All right, so I think yeah. So we'll do shadow people, this ghost imposter, human-faced centipede, and yeah, let's say we do the girl in the water. Why not? That'll make some pretty good ones. Terico, our second sponsor. So Cindy, you won't be by yourself on the list for the next 4 weeks. That's good news. Thank you very much, Terico. I appreciate your support. Lady Draco, yeah, this girl in the water, this one is actually, did I do it before? I would have to, I'm really drawing a blank here. I would have to probably read it and see if I actually remember doing it before. All right, so I'm going to start before I lose too many people. Been on for about 10 minutes now. I will get into this first story. So remember, as a pre-brief, I know there's only a handful of people right now. Yeah, Lady Draco, if you do recognize this story that I'm about to tell you, because I'm looking at it right now, I think it might have been someone emailing it to me. So the odds are there's probably many stories about girls in various bodies of water. If you heard it here or you heard it somewhere else, let me know if it sounds familiar to you once you've heard it. But yeah, so I'm counting on you all. There's only a few of you here, but there's some key players that oftentimes have been known to offer really good commentary and observations with these stories. And as if you're familiar with my channel and the way I do my videos, I always have I'll do the story, but most of the time, you know, I spend more time discussing a story than I do just reading it. And to me, that's my favorite part, is breaking it down and talking to you all about it. And what I'm counting on you all to do is pay attention to the story while I'm reading it and offer your thoughts, observations, questions, things that you found creepy or interesting, anything like that, so that I can plug those into my into the ending part of the discussion when the video comes out, and I'll actually discuss those questions and things like that with you. So that's my favorite part of any particular story. And I'm counting on you all to make sure that you're engaged. Some of you, at least, are engaged enough to help me out there, because otherwise all my videos would be really short because there would be no discussion. So make sure you look at that and, you know, pay attention enough to give me a little bit of feedback at the end there. Hello there, Ray Ayanami. Good to see you. All right, so I'm going to go with the longest story first. I believe that would be... Man, these are all pretty long today, except for one. All right, so we're going to go with Good Shadows. That'll be the first one. All right. I'm just situating everything so I can read it comfortably here. And then I'll throw the chat up so if something crazy happens, I'll be able to catch it. All right. Okay, without further ado, we're going to get into the first story. Hopefully I can get all 4 of these stories out tonight, because I'm on a sort of compressed timeline. And, yeah, let's do this. Go into story mode. Thanks very much for the super chat, Lila. I'm adding you to the lonely list of sponsors for this month's videos. 3 of you now, so Cindy has got plenty of company so far. Just having to get some water in me. I'm feeling a little dry today. And man, I almost started recording. I mean, I almost started reading without recording. That would have been a serious no-go right there. All right. Okay. Looks like we got a few more people in the interim showing up to listen to the stream. Make sure you all, if you think of anything cool or if you have any weird observations or anything like that, make sure you write that down and throw it into the chat so that I can pull from that at the end of the story. Yes, please do remember to like the video, folks. All right, we're going to put on some heavy rain. All right. Shadow people. I haven't spoken on these entities in quite a while, but I came across some new and unusual accounts in my archives recently. Did you know that although these enigmatic creatures, beings, sometimes are known for malicious intent, not all of them seem to wish harm on the humans that encounter them? Listen to these 2 stories and let me know your thoughts. Dear Mr. X, my name is Sam. I'm certainly no stranger to the idea that paranormal events may occur in this world, but I tend to take a rather conservative approach. Most of the time, when something strange happens, my first instinct is to find a logical, normal explanation to justify whatever I'm seeing. The story I'm about to share with you, though, no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to come up with a good explanation. Please let me know what you think. A few months after a stint in rehab, I moved into a nice apartment in a newish area of the city. Needless to say, I had some trouble with drugs before that. At the rehab place, I learned that rule number 1 of quitting any substance is to put some distance between yourself and anything and everyone involved with it. So I did. And I and my 2 cats, Rain and Aura, we left and started all over. I soon met some of my new neighbors, one family that had a set of twins. They were super friendly, very down-to-earth type of people. Despite the nicer area and the wonderful neighborhoods, I was still habitual about locking the doors. I think I made a mistake there. Despite being in a nicer area with wonderful neighbors, I was still habitual about locking the doors. It was second nature after having lived in so many sketchier parts of the city. My new place had a second bedroom I used as an office/game room. My computer was set up against the wall by the door. Through that door, you could see the living room in the kitchen area. You could see the living room and into the kitchen area. My cat Rain had set himself on a chair right outside the doorway and was happily snoring away. I had been in the house alone with my cats for quite some time. The deadbolts were locked up tight, as usual. I was sitting at the computer in deep concentration, trying my best to learn about 3D modeling. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Rain abruptly sit up straight. His hair wasn't raised, so he didn't seem afraid. It was like he was intensely focused on something. I followed the direction of his gaze with my eyes, and that's when I saw it. A shadow, tall and sort of blocky, standing in my kitchen. It looked like the shadow of a man, but warped, almost shaped like a trapezoid. It moved slowly out of view for a second before re-emerging into my view and stopping in its tracks. What caught my attention was that the shadow didn't touch the floor or the ceiling. It seemed almost to be suspended between them. My cat Rain, wide-eyed, turned to look at me and then back at the figure. I could see the pure befuddlement in his eyes. My heart started racing, and I carefully stood up from my seat. My initial thought was that I didn't want to scare whatever it was I was staring at. I sort of laughed looking back at that. I somehow didn't want to scare it. I can't tell you any of the usual tidbits, like there wasn't a chill in the air or a foreboding feeling. Goodness gracious, y'all. I gotta get in the game. Like, there wasn't a chill in the air or a foreboding. Like, there wasn't a chill in the air or a foreboding feeling, because there really wasn't. It was as if I had seen a mythical creature by my blender, and I kinda wanted a selfie. After a few moments, I walked into the hallway to get a closer look. It just stood there, at least about 7 feet tall. It seemed to be staring right back at us. It was at this point that I noticed my inner voice was screaming at me like, "Are you seeing this? Are we actually seeing this?" I had time to blink several times before the shadowy entity darted out of the kitchen towards the front door. And that was when I felt it. A blast of air came through the house, enough to make me squint and pause for a moment before rounding the corner into the living room. I could see that somehow all the doors and windows were wide open. That is when I got a bit unnerved. I asked myself, did I leave them open? No, I've been here all day. What the hell? Upon walking around to lock up the house once again, I noticed some lights flashing in the parking lot, and a few neighbors wandering around aimlessly outside. I soon found out that there had been a leak in the building, and the gas company was out in full force. Make of it what you will, but I don't believe all things that look frightening are necessarily there to harm us. Walking home the next evening, I looked up at the moon and saw it standing on the roof, the oddly shaped shadow man from my kitchen. I stared for a bit, watching him before giving him a little smile and a wave. I never saw him again after that. Wow. Story number 2. Hello, Mr. X. My name is Sally. I saw my first shadow person when I was about 6 years old. If my cousin Adrian hadn't witnessed it himself at the time, I don't think anyone would have ever believed me. I used to live out on a ranch in the country. My cousin and his parents lived just down the road, so we often spent the night at each other's houses. We were pretty far out of town, so our school friends really couldn't visit. He and I were pretty much always together. One Friday night, he stayed over at my house. We had made a plan to get up super early for Saturday morning cartoons. At the time, we lived in a single-wide trailer home with 2 bedrooms, so I shared the room with my older brother and sister. My sister and I had bunk beds, and my brother had his own. The room was a straight shot down the hallway at the end of the trailer. The way the bunks were set up, when the door was open, you could see the living room couch at the other end of the hall. There was a breakfast bar that divided the living room from the kitchen. That night, we both slept on the bottom bunk, which was my bed. We got up early as planned and were ready to bring on the sugary breakfast cereal and cartoons. Hang on, I'll redo that. We got up early as planned and were ready to bring on the sugary breakfast cereal and cartoons. It was only a few moments before we realized that we were actually up way too early. Where I lived, the cartoons started at 6 a.m. Well, the good ones did anyway. Upon figuring that out, we decided to just lay in the bed in the dark, joking around and laughing as quietly as possible, at the risk of waking up my angry teenage sister. After a few minutes, we turned around to check the time on the kitchen wall clock. What we saw was something unexpected. It was a tall, dark figure. It looked like it had the outline of a man, but we knew it wasn't my parents. We would have definitely heard either of them getting up or moving around in the trailer. Where it was standing, behind the bar, was near our kitchen sink. As I watched its movements closely, with its tall, slender frame hunched over the sink, it looked as if it was rummaging through our dishes. I couldn't see it very clearly against the already dimly lit room, but it appeared as if it was picking them up, examining the dishes closely, curiously, and then setting them back down. Now, this all happened over the course of less than a minute, but you know how time almost slows down when weird things are happening. My cousin Adrian whispered into my ear, Do you see that? Do you? What the heck is it? I don't know, I replied. As soon as I spoke those words, the thing stopped moving and turned around. I couldn't see any details or even the shape of a face, but somehow I knew for certain that it was looking right at us. The figure sort of seized up as if he was extremely surprised, and continued to stare us down from across the hallway. After what seemed like several seconds, it suddenly ducked and disappeared into the surrounding shadows. It suddenly ducked down. It suddenly ducked down and disappeared into the surrounding shadows. It was like it was more afraid of us than we were of him. It was like it was more afraid of us than we were of it. We stayed there in shock for quite a while, trying to process what we just saw. We finally worked up the courage to get up and check the kitchen after a long round of "no, you first," back and forth. We walked down the hall, huddled closely together, making our way to the kitchen where it stood moments earlier. There was nothing there. To this day, you can put my cousin and I in separate rooms and he'll tell you the exact same as me. The only difference is, when he looked at it, he says he saw red eyes. I don't remember seeing those. Thankfully. I wouldn't want that image in my memories, to be honest. Anyway, thanks for listening, Mr. X. Sincerely, Sally. All right, y'all. Yeah, that was kind of painful. I always have to warm up. Maybe I should get on a little bit earlier and warm up more before I do these readings. But then that would take more of my time, so usually I just let it ride. Hopefully the next story will go a little smoother with fewer mistakes. But hey, now's the time. I want you to start. I'm going to do my comments, and I want you to start typing in your observations and questions and comments about the story into the live chat. And then, as many of you probably know, when I'm done with my comments, I will read your names along with the comments that you had to say and actually discuss those things. So I'm going to go ahead and read my comments, and whatever you guys have to say about it, throw those comments into the chat, and we'll go from there. Hey there, Mr. X here. Now, it's a rare opportunity that I get to share not one, but two stories where the entities involved are more helpful than horrifying. I do love a little pick-me-up once in a while. I hope you enjoyed these as much as I did. In Sam's story, I thought it was interesting that she was unable to hear any of the windows or doors opening. I tend to believe her when she says she always keeps the doors and everything in the house locked up, because I know how unsettling it is when you realize that a door or window is open when you didn't want it to be. You didn't mean it to be. If you weren't aware, oh my goodness, I didn't even start recording again. Hold on. All right. Hey there, my friends, Mr. X here. Now, it's a rare opportunity I get to share not one, but two stories where the entities involved are more helpful than horrifying. I do love a little pick-me-up once in a while. I hope you enjoyed these as much as I did. In Sam's story, I thought it was pretty interesting that she was unable to hear any of the windows or doors opening. I tend to believe her when she said she always keeps things in the house locked up, because I know how unsettling it is when you realize a door or window is open when you didn't mean it to be. If you weren't aware, when you live in a location that uses natural gas for heating and appliances and things like that, if there's a leak, it's actually possible for you to simply pass out and die if the gas builds up too much in your home. And there could even be explosions as a result of such scenarios. Many people are found deceased after succumbing to malfunctions like that. I believe it would be carbon monoxide poisoning, maybe. I'm not sure what the classification is or what the natural gas is that's used in different states across, or different places across the world. But that does happen. However, if someone were to fully ventilate that home, as I understand, that crisis could be averted. And it seems like the entity that was in her house might have been responsible for her all those things being open for that very reason, maybe to save her life. Very interesting idea. So, regarding Sally's story, a common theory on the existence of shadow people came to my mind as I was reading it. I have heard it postulated that when we perceive shadow people, or even in some cases ghosts or other strange entities for that matter, it might be possible that those creatures are existing in a parallel dimension of some sort, and they might actually be seeing us the way we see them, which might be a good explanation of why they sometimes appear to be startled or scared of us. Perhaps in some places where the fabric separating two realities just so happens to be a bit thinner, a little bit of each world sort of slips through and to be seen on the other side. So to put it simply, when we see a shadow person, they might be seeing us as a shadow person in their own world. Sort of explains a lot if you think about it that way. Interesting ideas to ponder. So, how about you? I want to know what you're thinking now. Do you think this shadow entity might have been responsible for ensuring Sam's safety on that day, where there was a gas leak? Why do you think the cat reacted by staring but not with fear or apprehensiveness? I personally am quite well assured that most cats could care less if their owner died from a gas leak, but maybe little Rain was an exception to that. Who knows? Have you heard of shadow people seen with glowing eyes of any sort? That aspect of shadow stories, sometimes it makes me feel a little suspicious. I don't know, just kind of a weird thing that I don't hear very often. I also want to know what you think shadow people even are, to begin with, if you would acknowledge the existence of such things at all. So anyway, now I'm going to see what the dreamers have to say, those who are listening to the live stream as I read live. And don't forget, if you want a chance to have your question or comment appear in a video, or maybe even become a sponsor of an episode via Super Chats, turn on notifications so that you can get into the live readings and discussions as they happen. It's always a lot of fun. All right, my friends, let's see what you guys got for comments here. Before I go to that, I'm going to do some greetings because I see some new names. Ebola, hello there, my friend. Steve Simmons, Samantha, our newest mod. Ambar, Shin Fitz, hello there, my friends. Good to see you all. Dark Phoenix, hello. Let's see anybody else. Very cool. Good to have you all here. Yes, Cindy, imagine asking a shadow person for a pic. I thought that was pretty funny that that Sam mentioned that in her story. It was pretty hilarious, the image of that happening. I'll add that in there just for fun. Okay, let's see. And you all were clowning on this shadow person scenario here. That was pretty good. I'm gonna actually add all those comments in, or a few of them in. Yeah, let's see here. Looking through. Okay, Lady Draco. That's an interesting topic to have a little mini discussion on. I'll throw that in there. Yeah, Cindy, I definitely agree. It's certainly a possibility that they are seeing us the same way we see them. And that whenever I think about that, there's kind of a haunting element, a haunting aspect to it. Imagining that entity having its own experience, its own way of moving through its existence on whatever plane it lives on, and my presence could actually be something that's terrifying to that creature. Kind of makes me feel like I'm the creepy one sometimes. Okay, great comment there, Samantha. I'm going to add that in. Some people are whispers. Yeah, Ambar, very good. Yeah, see, I'm glad I got a good crew in here tonight with the Dreamers. You guys are giving me some really good comments to play off of. Yeah, let's see. Hey there, Sans Serif. Good to see you. All right, that's a good comment as well, Sans Serif. All right, I think I got enough. That's pretty good. All right, here we go. All right, so first of all, we had some pretty good laughs in the comments during the live chat with this story. We had Cindy S. said, could you imagine asking a shadow person for a pic? Very, very awkward and silly mental image. I mean, there must have been next to no negative energy emanating from this being, if that's the first thought that entered Sam's head. Ambar Chavez says, please, sir, would you stand still for a moment and say cheese? And Brett said, Mr. Shadow Person, would you strike a pose for me? LOL. Very comical scene there, and you all painted the picture very well. Lady Draco 87 says, I find it interesting that when people mention shadow people, they never say other features, other than it was solid black. Yeah, I wonder if that's just all that sticks in their mind. I mean, so is it solid lines, or is it cloudy, misty? Those are all good things to ask. Ambar also said, shadow people are whispers of the dimensions we are closest to, similar enough and close enough to intermingle. A fascinating idea, and one that I think about often, actually. Probably more often than the average person. Sans Serif said, I feel like shadow people are pieces of a person left behind during their existence that just linger in our perception of reality. That is a sad fate, if I do say so myself. Imagine just a shattered, a fraction of your being left behind that's just conscious and aware enough to know where it's supposed to be. Say it's hangs around in its old apartment, the apartment that you used to live in, and doesn't know that it's supposed to have moved on. Doesn't really belong here anymore. Ray Ayanami says, I remember once when I was sleeping, something black hovered on my ceiling. It slowly formed into the shape of a human, but I could not see any facial features. Was it a shadow person? Yeah, that something transforming or moving or appearing as one form and then slowly turning into the shape of a human. I wouldn't assume that was a specific case of shadow person sighting. I haven't really heard a lot of stories with shadow people where they take some kind of amorphous form and then coagulate, if you will, into the form of a human. That's interesting. I should, if you can, Ray, do send me an email if there's anything more to that story. I'd like to hear more about it. Or if that's happened to you more than once. Terico says, I wonder how cognizant of their appearance shadow people are. If they're surprised by being seen at all, are they aware of what they look like? Could they have any control over it? Now that's a really interesting question as well. It makes you wonder, are they shocked and they react with that sort of seeming fear because they're surprised that we are able to see them? Or is it because they're seeing a shadow person in their world? Very interesting. So that would be almost like the shadow person being a visitor, a conscious, intentional visitor who's trying to sneak around in our world, versus something that is in its own world doing its own thing, but occasionally encounters us. This is really, really bending my mind just wondering about this. Samantha says, time is circular. Supposedly, so Samantha says, time is circular, supposedly, so why not dimensions laying side by side and the circular motion slips? Just as we orbit the sun, we orbit an oval in an oval, so maybe the dimensions orbit in an oval and we occasionally overlap. Y'all are really blowing my mind right now. That is a concept I've never thought of before. The idea of alternate dimensions being in orbit of one another. I always thought of them sort of being layered one by one, on top of the other or side by side, but it's really in the context of considering the fact that we really don't know anything about that. It could be any relation to one another. I'm not even really educated in physics highly enough to postulate on this. So I love that you're thinking about it a lot more outside the box than even I've ever done. And I've put a lot of thought into this because of the fact that I have a novel I'm working on where multiple dimensions and their relation to one another comes into play. So it's very interesting that you would say that. And it's kind of gotten me on a really different and new track of thinking. You just expanded my mind a little bit there, Samantha. I'm glad I chose you as a mod. So, I think we'll call it a day for that one. I hope you enjoyed these stories and the wonderful discussion afterward. So now I'm going to go to the live chat and select a choice code word. All right. So what are we doing for the code word in this one? I should have given you all a heads up about that, but I didn't. So let's see. Code word banana. Lady Draco, you're gonna have to explain that one. Definitely gonna require explanation. It's got to make some kind of sense. I don't remember mentioning bananas anywhere. Oh, you're eating a banana. Okay, well, let's see. I'm sure banana will show up at some point in the future. Selfie is a good one, Terico. Good job with that one. We'll do selfie so that we can keep it moving here. So, live listener Terico suggested the word selfie as the code word for today. If you are listening to this part of the story at the very end, this part of the video at the very end, type the word selfie into your comment down below so I can see who the real dreamers are. Take care, my friends. All right. Okay. Excellent comments with this. I know I didn't get to all of them, but I do appreciate you all with your amazing contributions to the story and to the discussion. I'm gonna export that sound file real quick, and then we will move on to the next one. All right. Okay, so let's see. Before we do that, let's see. Shadow Kick was a pretty good one. Oh, Thomas Anderson. Hello there, my friend. I don't think I greeted you when you showed up. What's with Comic Sans? You seem really emphatic about that. I don't see the connection here. Code word Comic Sans. Shinfitz, you said, wouldn't be surprised if a shadow person is just me from another time coming back to borrow something of mine, like only one sock. That's pretty funny. I like it. Okay, let's see. Lilah, you said you enjoy watching the process. Yes, this is, as they say, how the sausage is made. Even though I hate that term, or that phrase. Well, I'm almost out of water. I'm like really... I could have sworn I drank like a gallon of water at work today. But maybe I didn't. Okay, next one. Okay, let's see. We got the girl in the water. We got, yeah, don't forget, y'all. I got a few sponsors for this week already. Cindy, Terico, and Lilah. If anybody else wants to chip in and sponsor this video series, any super chat will get you right up on the sponsor list. Any super chat, any amount, whatever you want to do. Or you can just hang out and contribute to the discussion, and that's more than enough for me, and I appreciate you either way. Alright, so I'm going to do the girl in the water next. Well, no, I'm going to do the imposter ghost voice next, because that's the next longest one. Oh, Lorie Long, thank you so much for your super chat. I'm adding you to the sponsor list. You said better late than never. I could not agree more. Any time is a good time to become a sponsor for the Mr. X Dreams show. You are much appreciated, my friend. I need to stop with this like little squeaky thing. I don't know if y'all can even hear it, but I hear it. And as one of you all said last time, I hate mouth noises. And I am extremely guilty of them often. Zen 2011, another frequent sponsor, my friend. Thank you so much for the super chat. Got 5 sponsors now so far. I thought Cindy was going to be all alone up there. Okay, glad. Samantha, you said you hear no squeaks. I'm glad to hear that. All right, so we're going to go to story number 2. The girl in the imposter ghost voice. I got to come up with a better name for it, though. See, y'all are really seeing the inner workings of how this stuff gets made. Michael N., what's up, my friend? How are you? And I hope the answer to that question is quite well. I haven't done much pimping these days, but I don't do much pimping these days, but I'm doing good. Lee Underhill, hello there, my friend. Good to see you. Okay, let's see, what do I got? All right, imposter ghost voice. Story from Reddit. I'm going to get into that one right now. Put the rain on, since it's the only thing long enough. Hopefully a couple fewer mistakes than last time. Oh, this is a good one. I'm glad I chose this one. I like it. Imagine you're standing in a sweltering jungle. The hour is early, before dawn. From the blackness of the jungle, you hear a familiar voice calling out to you. What do you do? Listen to this story about a mysterious entity that lurks in the darkness, waiting for just the right person to wander along. This story is based on a post from Reddit, r/paranormal, from user Eternity Pleasure, entitled, Don't Follow Her Voice. I'll leave a link in the description down below if you want to read the original post, because I completely rewrote it for the purposes of this story. I'll leave a link in the description to the original post because I pretty much rewrote it for the purposes of this story. Hello all. This story is not necessarily my own personal account, but rather something I was told by my father. He and my uncle had this experience when they were kids. It's a bit on the lengthy side, so I'll get right into it. My father and his elder brother, my uncle, were best friends growing up in India during the late 60s. Dad used to live in a very small village called Maharashtra. The village is actually located in the jungle and had a population of under 800 people at the time. It was mostly farmers. There was little to no electricity available. They didn't even have clocks. Folks had to tell time based on the position of the sun. I know it sounds like medieval times, but that was the situation for most tribal people in India. My father, then 8 or 10 years old, and my uncle, then 15 or 16, used to get up early in the morning before sunrise and go out into the jungle to cut wood. The wood they cut would be used for daily needs like cooking, etc. My aunt, their elder sister, would make breakfast for them. They would eat bakri, a kind of Indian bread, and sabji, curry, for relevance. I don't need that. A type of curry. She would either pack a meal for them so they could eat later, or deliver the food to them while they worked in the jungle. The area where they chopped their wood was very familiar to them, so they never had a hard time finding each other out there, even in the early light. My grandfather, their father obviously, would always be out getting the farming work started. They would have their breakfast together and then come back with the logs from the jungle. One day, during the winter, my uncle and father got up early in the morning as usual. It was still dark because the sun rises a bit later in the winter season. My aunt was still sleeping, so they decided not to disturb her. They picked up their axes and went into the jungle. That day, for some reason, they decided to go a bit further than usual, deeper into the jungle. They went so far that before they realized it, they were unable to see the lantern lights of the village behind them. Not wanting to waste the trip, they decided to get at least one tree down and gather what they could. After a while, my uncle noticed something suspicious. He wondered why the sun had not risen yet, even though they had been in the jungle for a couple of hours. Just by instinct, he knew that by that time, there should have been birds singing and roosters crowing, all the typical signs of the morning. However, there was no noise, no cattle mooing, no dogs barking alongside their shepherds. All there was in the air was an eerie, profound silence. The two decided to hurry up with their work and try to get out of there sooner rather than later. Now, before going on any further, let me be very clear about my uncle. He's a very tough guy. Nothing scares the dude easily. He's well respected by the whole village, to this day. Same goes for my father. But in that moment, something was different. He didn't know why, but he was feeling like there was something very wrong. Perhaps like something was watching them from deep inside the jungle. My uncle somehow knew it was not a tiger, a cheetah, jaguar, or a wild boar. I guess he had felt the presence of those things before, and this was not it. All of a sudden, my father and uncle both heard the voice of my aunt. She sounded distant, like she was searching for them from afar. They couldn't see her. They just heard her voice, clear as day. My uncle was immediately suspicious because the voice was coming from deep in the jungle, not from the direction of the village. He told my father to tell her to come to them. When he did so, the call stopped for a moment, and then she replied, "No, you come to me. Hurry. I've brought you your favorite food." At that moment, my uncle realized what they were dealing with. He had heard stories from the other villagers about a voice which leads people away into the depths of the jungle, sometimes never to be found again. In cases where the lost people did return to the village, they were often afflicted by an extremely disturbed and even destroyed mental state. The voice was said to belong to a paranormal entity called a chakva, a supernatural being who has the ability to hypnotically lull you into a vulnerable mental state, even so far as to make you harm your own body. As my uncle thought about this, putting it all together in his head, he suddenly realized something else. Being a naive 8-year-old boy, My dad had begun walking toward the sound of his sister's voice. He started to call out to her, replying. The voice began calling his name, yelling, "Come, this way. I am waiting here with your breakfast." My uncle ran towards my father at full speed and grabbed him by his shirt collar. He said, "Don't listen to her. Come on, we must go home." My father replied, "But it's our sister. She's calling us and I'm hungry." By that time, my uncle had already grabbed my father's hand and told him, "She's bluffing with us. She has no food. Now come on." My father was about to start arguing with my uncle, but then he noticed his older brother's hand was shaking. He looked into my uncle's eyes, and for the first time in his life, he saw true fear in them. They walked the rest of the way back to the village as fast as they could, without another word. As they got closer to the village, they heard the mysterious voice again. "Why are you going that way? Come here, follow my voice," she said. My uncle, still holding my father's hand, said, "Ignore her." Needless to say, he was trying to divert my father's attention and play it cool so he wouldn't panic. Their long walk back to the village felt like an eternity. Now, being a Hindu by religion, my uncle started mumbling mantras of Lord Rama. The voice slowly started to fade away as they got closer to the village. My uncle took a long sigh of relief when he finally heard the sound of dogs barking from the direction of the village. He saw the light from the lanterns and knew that they were getting close. He said it looked like all the dogs in the village had gathered together and started making loud crying noises like wolves. Concerned that the entity might have still been following them, the two ran the rest of the way to the village. They stopped by our ancestral temple, joined hands and bowed their heads, saying thank you. Once they reached home, my uncle and father saw that my aunt was still in her bed. I suppose my father was still confused about what had happened, because he badmouthed her for beating them in a race back to the house. They later found out that they got mixed up and left the house way too early. As in, around 2 a.m., or maybe even earlier. To make things worse, it happened to also be a moonless night. And that's it. My dad and uncle talk about this story often, so I figure I would pass it on. Thanks for listening. All right, my friends, let's see. First of all, Samantha, thank you so much for becoming yet again a sponsor for the Mr. X Dreams show. Thank you very much for your generous super chat there. Awesome as always. As the great Philip DeFranco would say, I love your face. Let's see here. Yeah, so we got, I really like this story. This story that we just heard. I'm sorry, I'm still taken aback by that last super chat. It's always a little shocking to me when that happens. But this is the first story that I've gotten from India, as far as I can think back. And I did a little bit of research and I have some things to talk about regarding this entity. But in the meantime, as I'm reading my comments, I would like for you all to give me some of your own comments and whatever you saw, thought was interesting, or questions or observations that you thought about this story while I'm reading my comments, so that I'll have a little bit more to discuss at the end. And I say that again because, people come and go, pop in and out of the live streams. They might not have heard that spiel before, so I gotta let everybody know every time I get a chance. So I'm going to go ahead and read my comments first. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Somehow I got muted. What was the last thing you guys heard? Let me know if you heard any of my commentary. Probably not. Okay, yeah, I don't know how it got muted right there. All right, so I'll do my commentary stuff over again just in case, so that you guys can hear it. All right, so when I was reading this story on Reddit, I noticed a similar one in the comments. Long story short, there was another person whose father had once heard a sister calling out to him from the jungle and saying that she wanted him to come help her pick fruits. And when he went to start picking the fruits with her, he realized she was not actually there. Even stranger, every time he went to put a fruit into his basket that he brought with him, the basket would be empty, almost like something was taking everything he would pick when he wasn't looking, taking all the fruits that he was picking. There was also another person who grew up in Maharashtra and who was familiar with the legend of this chakra cryptid. And this individual mentioned the story of a whole family of people who spent an unknown amount of lost time in the jungle, and all the while hearing numerous voices of loved ones, and basically that time seemed to freeze around them, and they had no idea how long they were in there. There were also multiple commenters that mentioned chakva entities luring people into water and drowning them. So that's another one of the reasons why I would say it's worth the read to go back and listen and look at at least the comments section of the original Reddit post. Hopefully I'll remember to put it in the comments section down below so y'all can check that out easily. So I tried doing some research into the chakva on my own, but I couldn't really seem to find anything about it in English. However, I figure if multiple Indian people happen to write about the same phenomenon on the same Reddit thread, it can't be a complete fabrication out of whole cloth, I would assume. So I wonder where lies the grain of truth within the legend. It was a pretty wild thread, and definitely check it out. If you are in India, or you're from India, and you've heard about this Chakva entity, please do let me know in the comments down below. So now I want to know what you think. Could this have been a case of basically group hallucination, both of the boys hearing the sister's voice for normal psychological human reasons? Or do you believe that there really could be deceptive entities wandering the jungles of India? I also wonder if the dogs of the village sensed something strange and were perhaps trying to help with their howling somehow. I got a really funny feeling when reading that part of the story. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. So now I'm going to open up the floor for the dreamers listening live to weigh in. Remember, if you want a chance at your question or comment showing up in a future video, or the chance to sponsor a video, turn on notifications so you catch the live show with the live reading and discussion. Great times. All right, my friends, so let's see what y'all had to say here. Thomas Anderson, you said that it's you're getting some stuttering with my stream for some reason. That's weird. I have an excellent connection. I'm not sure what might be going on there. Yeah, sorry about the sound issue a minute ago, guys. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I probably had to like burp or something, so I muted it, but then forgot to unmute it like a dunce. Okay. All right, let's see here. Okay, got a comment from Cindy. Could use a couple more, probably. Brett, Inuit entity. Okay, nice one, Brett. Thank you. Terico, that's a good one. Yeah, the voice mimic. You're right, Lorie. That does seem to come up quite a bit. Yeah, Ebola. What do you think? I mean, you said coincidence or coincidence of circumstance or supernatural stuff. Who knows? I want to know what your opinion is. Oh, crocata. Crocata. Never heard of a crocata before, Samantha. I might have to look that up. All right, let me see if there's probably a couple more, and then I will start reading and responding to them. Dark Phoenix, thank you for your comment. Ambar. Yeah. No, Samantha, I don't think you were lagging behind. I think it was just user error on my part. I accidentally muted myself for a few seconds. I'm not sure how long it was, actually. Sock Goblin, amazing WTF. Hello there, my friend. Good to see you. I do have a moment to talk about your Lord and Savior Dora the Explorer. That sounds like a fascinating discussion there. All right, here we go. So Cindy S. says, it would most likely be a demon to mimic the voice of a family member perfectly, but also knowing what the family member's voice sounded like. It would have had to read their minds. Yeah, it's an interesting idea because not only, you're right, not only did this entity have to know the exact vocal patterns of the sister, but also what the sister is known to do during that time. And interestingly enough, not even what the sister does during that time, because that wasn't the right time. What they expected the sister to do, what they would have thought was normal based on their misinterpretation of what time it was. Very interesting idea there. Brett Learmonth says, there's an Inuit entity, I forget the name at the moment, but it tickles you to death with micro sharp nails that are not visible. So you get tickled, but at the same time you're getting microscopically sliced up. That sounds absolutely horrifying. That sounds horrible, terrible. I don't like that. And but I do want to look into that. That said, because if there's anything I enjoy talking about is things that are extremely disturbing like that. So Brett, if you can, here's a homework assignment. If you can look that up and see if you could find it and email it to me, I will definitely look into that and see if I could speak on it in the future. Thank you in advance. Terico says, I feel like it's rare in paranormal stories for a person to ask a suspicious entity to come towards them. However, its refusal to reveal itself obviously warrants caution. Yeah, it's definitely strange, and I think that the key point in this case is the fact that it was a child thinking that his sister was calling him. So they kind of did that as a test to see, all right, if that's our sister somehow and she's somehow deeper in the jungle than we are, then she should have no problem coming to us. After all, she's bringing us our breakfast. So it was a test, and the creature, the entity, failed that test. Lorie Long said, the voice mimic idea comes up a lot in Dogman and Wendigo stories as well. Definitely. And I think it's very strange that that is the case, because you wouldn't think a Dogman would be able to do or even think, or let alone a Wendigo, which is, I believe, probably even crazier than a Dogman would be. You wouldn't think those types of beings would be able to comprehend such things, but I have heard a lot of stories where a person happens to hear similar voices to, voices they recognize as other members of their family. Samantha says, was this a crocata? Crocota, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Not sure if, she says, not sure if I spelled that right, but it mimics. It is some form of mimic. A cryptid known out of India. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. Another thing for me to look up, and I'll have to do that. Let me take a second and copy that over. All right. Dark Phoenix says, I wonder why these entities use your loved one's voice. They're very smart because some people will fall for it and follow the voices and could potentially end up falling victim. I agree. It's a very sinister tactic, a very unnerving thing to know that you might not be able to trust the voice of your own loved one. Ambar Chavez says, a group hallucination is a possibility, but if I was a stranded ghost with endless time on my hands, it would be only a matter of time before I became mischievous, started messing with people. Yeah, Yeah, I could see that. That's a very compelling case. Even if it's just a normal standard run of the mill ghost, yeah, they could be pretty bored. Maybe it's somebody who died out there in the jungle and just decided, you know what? I'm going to start messing with people. I've been here for 50 years. I don't have anything better to do. Why not? So, let's get a code word here. As always, I totally forgot to ask for one ahead of time, but I can rely on the dreamers listening in the live chat to hook me up. So let's see what they come up with. Okay, Brett, you said you found the Inuit thing. Man, you're really quick with that homework assignment. Really, really good job there. The Inuit tickler. Mahaha. I will add that to my search list. Yeah, Inuit mythology. Holy moly. All right. So, let's see what we can do for a code word, y'all. Voices, it's a little too on the nose. Good, it's a good one though. Okay. Ambar says taco truck. What would you gotta explain that one, Ambar? If there's some kind of nexus to taco truck in this story, I'm going to be amazed. Fear the Great White. Hello there, my friend. And there was someone else. Tim D. Hello. Good to see you. Good to see you all. Holy moly, as a code word. Curry. That's a good. That's good. I think. Well, yeah, because curry is mentioned, and that curry must have been really good for them to wander all the way into the jungle at the risk of their own life to get it. So, yeah, let's do that. So, Dreamer Lady Draco 87 came up with the code word curry. And I have to agree. That curry must be really good if the boys are willing to trek deep into the jungle to get it. So if you're still listening to this part of the video, you're exactly the dreamer I want to hear from. Type the word curry in a comment down below. Be creative. Surprise me so I can see you. Take care, my friends. Later. All right. Okay, imposter. Chakva. Mimic. All right, there we go. Okay, somebody said that's a really good point, Samantha. Samantha said, you know, it could be all the same cryptid, just named differently in different places. Yeah, that's true. Lots of different names for the same concept, sort of. Very good idea. I wish I put that in the recording before, but it's all good. Let me see here. Someone said something. Brett said, lore is a personal hobby of mine, so no problem. 'Twas fun and my pleasure. Well said, my friend. All right, let's see here. Okay, got that curry. Type that in there. All right, 2 down, 2 to go. Might be able to crank both of these out because they're a little bit shorter. All right. I'm actually out of water, so here's what I'm going to do, y'all. Don't anybody leave, because I'm going to go I'm going to go refill my water, and I will be right back in a minute. Nil DB, hello there, my friend. Good to see you. Mary C, hello. All right, got some. I got a pretty good crowd here for a Wednesday night. I'm pretty surprised. And once again, yeah, if you want to sponsor this video series, you can send any super chat and you will be added to the sponsor list. We got 6 sponsors so far, and the more the merrier. It's a wonderful group to be in if you like my content. And it's you all, the people watching, listening, subscribing, sharing, the people commenting and helping me out with the discussion and all that stuff. You all are literally driving this channel and helping me continue do my work, especially the people who support with super chats and things like that. But still, even if you don't, if you're here and you're participating, you're talking, that's like, it's really great. It's a good thing, and I can't do this without you all. So I appreciate every single one of you, and I just want you to know that. So, man, I hope y'all didn't hear that weird rumbling thing that just came out of my body, out of my like chest cavity here. I'm gonna put on a little bit of music, and I'll be gone for just a second, and I'll be right back. I told you I wasn't going to be long. All right. Get that out of here. All right, what'd I miss? About to start The Girl in the Water. I'm pretty sure this is a new story that's not been done on my channel before. And unless the person sent it in an email to someone else and they already read it, it should be the first time for all of y'all. The Coking 420. Hello there, my friend. Night Companion, what's up, my friend? You made it in time to hear the last 1 or 2 stories. I'll tell you that much. How can we add nightmare stories? If it's for dreams, nightmares, that type of thing, it's got to be really, really interesting for me to talk about those on the channel these days, because there's very few people that really seem to want to hear about them. And yeah, it's got to be really good. If it's something that you feel like it might be beyond your actual dreams, maybe there's some kind of dream entity following you around, that could be pretty interesting. So yeah, you let me know. Well, wait, what did Brett say here? What did Brett say? How did I miss that? Yeah, I can't figure out what you guys are responding to as far as what Brett said. All right. Miss Raina V, hello there, my friend. Jessica, hello. You're not too late. You're about halfway through. Yeah, I was expecting to lose a couple of people while I was away, but I actually gained a couple of people, so that's good. All right, so hey, yep, I'm about to get into the next story. Make sure you keep this in mind. Listen to the story. If you have a good observation or something comes to mind, or question or comment or something like that, that can add to the discussion at the end, make sure you type that into the, I'll give you a prompt of when I want you to type that in, so I can easily find it. But after I read the story, I'll start asking you all to type in your comments so that I can kind of riff on them at the end during the discussion segment. So please make sure you do that, and I will appreciate it endlessly. Yeah, I'm glad I can depend on you all not to just jump ship as soon as I'm not looking. Hello there, Master Panda. Good to see you, my friend. All right, let's see. Yes, hydrate, 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 as they say to us in the military, as many of you might know. Hydration is it's very important. And apparently I've been slacking today, so I gotta, yeah, I come back for the mouth clicks. Yeah, if you go back and look at this one, Night Companion, you might find a couple mouth clicks in there, along with some weird throat noises that I can't even explain. All right, so let's go. Let's get into this. Man, is that really... Okay, no, I turned the music off. All right, here we go. Put the rain back on. Go into story mode. And let's do this. Demons. Entities of pure malice and deviance. Spoken of with hushed tones in every language known to humankind. Don't know what happened to my voice there. In every language known to humankind. But is there a reason stories like this have been so prolific throughout the millennia? Are these entities really what we think they are? Listen to these stories and let me know what you think. And let me know what you think. Dear Mr. X, my name is Stephen. I'm writing to you to share the story of my first encounter with what may have been some sort of demon. This happened to me when I was in my mid-teens, visiting my older sister Mary's house. She got the place with her now ex-husband. Ever since they bought the house, she used to tell me that she got a lot of strange, unsettling feelings whenever she was there. They tried having a priest cleanse the house, but those weird vibes never really went away. There was a guest room tucked away at the end of the hall that gave off a particularly ominous feeling whenever we went near it. The room had a walk-in bathroom with a standing shower that was built in the shape of a pentagon. One evening, when I was visiting, I stayed in that room and decided to take a shower. At first, I didn't feel anything out of the ordinary. The shower curtain was slightly open, since it wasn't quite large enough to cover the space it was meant to. By chance, I was casually washing up, and I happened to glance out through the open space between the curtain and the wall. For a moment, just a moment, I saw someone. A woman. The first thing I noticed about her were her eyes. They were large and completely filled with black like polished stones. Her hair was also black, messy and frizzy. She was naked and crouched low to the ground, her arms crossed covering her breasts. Her skin tone was something I still struggle to describe. It seemed unreal, almost synthetic. Not a natural color, if that makes sense. It was somewhere between light tan and a sickly yellow. She appeared to be Caucasian in terms of facial features, but her overall appearance was so alien that it made her seem inhuman. Her glassy eyes met with mine, and when I blinked, she completely vanished into thin air. And when I blinked, she completely vanished into thin air. I didn't feel threatened by her presence for some reason. She almost had a look of curiosity in the dark pools of her eyes. After she disappeared, I felt her presence enter the shower with me. There was a clear, seductive intent in the small, confined space. After that, she began following me. The next day at home, I was in the pool with my other sister, Gloria. It was late at night, and we were just hanging out. Suddenly, I began feeling something tugging at my shorts in the water. I also felt some kind of body brushing against my leg. I looked around and saw nothing near me in the water. My sister was all the way on the other side of the pool. When I turned to see exactly where Gloria was, something else was there instead. I saw something else instead. The girl from the shower slowly rose out of the water in front of me, facing slightly away. Her hair was wet and hung down over her face, so I couldn't see her eyes. Her skin was even more sickly, but this time a pale gray, unlike before. Although she looked a little different, the energy she carried was unmistakable. It was the same person, or thing, whatever you want to call it. She just popped up out of the water and then back under, disappearing again under the ripples. Moments later, Gloria said she wanted to get out of the pool because she felt something touching her leg. She said it felt like a snake or something, but whatever it was, it creeped her out. I asked her to stay for a while longer. When she asked why, I actually explained to her what I had seen, begging her not to freak out. I told her I wanted to see if the ghost girl would come back, but I didn't want to be in the pool alone if she did. I can't really blame her for saying hell no and getting out of the pool despite my request. A few years later, my older sister Mary moved away. I believe that whatever spirits or entities were living in her old house must have followed her to the new place. I would hate to think that she might just have the horrible luck of randomly picking 2 haunted houses in a row. I went to visit her one day and ended up in the house by myself for a while, since she and her husband were at work. I could hear loud footsteps echoing from the kitchen, which I had a clear view of from where I was sitting, on the couch in the living room. The footsteps were pacing back and forth, practically right in front of me. But there was no one there. The doorknob to the den began shaking. I started hearing a voice in my head. The words, "I want your soul," being said in my mind, but by a male voice I did not recognize. With a mixture of sarcasm and anxiety, I replied, "Well, how do you propose to get that?" I almost fell over when the voice went from being in my head to filling the entire room around me. I heard the voice with my ears this time as it shouted violently, "You die." I could feel the reverberation of the voice in the air. At the same time, most of the ambient heat in the room was swept out, leaving the space frigid cold. That night, I was laying on the couch in the den trying to sleep. Can't believe he still slept there. I was staring at the open bathroom door, a short distance past my feet, when a very tall male figure walked out. Like the girl in the shower, he was also completely naked. His body seemed to be in peak physical condition as he stood well over 6 feet tall. He had short black hair and the same skin tone as the girl I saw. His presence was absolutely oppressive, terrifying. I could sense that he was the same entity that yelled at me earlier. With a terrifying speed, he moved toward me and leaned over to whisper something into my ear. The thing is, as I stared into the obsidian jewels of his eyes, he spoke so fast that I could not understand a single word he had to say. Then, as suddenly as he appeared, he was gone. Mind you, I was able to move and speak during this entire time. I was simply too scared to do so until he was gone. That's why I don't believe this was a case of sleep paralysis. I often wonder what those things were. Maybe I'll never know. Either way, that's my story. Sincerely, Stephen. All right, my friends. Another story. I'm pretty sure I never read that one before on here. If you have any observations or anything interesting that you saw with that story, any questions or comments or something you want to share for the discussion purposes, go ahead and type that. I'll give you guys a couple minutes because I'm going to read my comments on this. Go ahead and type up your whatever you have to say to add to the discussion, and then we will keep it moving. I'm on track. I think I can get all 4 stories out tonight before 10 o'clock. Yeah, this is definitely a new one. All right, here we go. Hey there, friends. Mr. X here. So, this was an interesting story. Let's start with the entities themselves. So there were 2 similar-looking apparitions that Stephen encountered throughout the story. The first one, a female, seemed to appear when he was immersed in water for some reason. I wonder if that was a coincidence or if there was more to it. The fact that the first time he saw her was in the shower and the second time in the pool, and the other entity that he saw, the male, was in totally different situations where he was not in any kind of aquatic or wet environment. He did say that they both had the same black jewel-like eyes as well, which I thought was interesting. Although he did not really mention too much about the male's skin tone versus the 2 different appearances of the female. So, the appearance of these entities seemed to be a bit different than the standard ghost sightings that you hear about in ghost stories, which leads me to tend to classify these events as related to the phenomenon colloquially known as demon activity. I would assume that the 2 entities are somehow related, and as some of the live listeners have said, could be related literally, like as in being siblings. Being that they had similar attributes and they both seemed to gravitate to the same person. Stephen mentioned that the ghostly beings must have been following his sister, since all the encounters happened at her two different residences. However, I'm not entirely sure Stephen himself is not the actual lightning rod attracting this paranormal activity. So, think back to the story I told a while back about the couple that was haunting a woman's house. I posted it not too long ago. It was a couple where there was a male and female, and the male seemed to have unalived the female at some point in the past. And it was playing out almost as though it was a movie in front of the young girl that visited this house. And those things only really, in that case, those things only happened when Tammy, the little girl, was actually there. But in this case, Steve said that his sister did experience strange things and strange sensations and feelings even when he wasn't there. So it really is a toss-up between who is sort of the target or the person of interest in this story. Interesting to think about. It could very well be that these two entities follow the sister, but since she can't actually perceive them fully, they only really act up when Steve, the brother, who may be more sensitive to this realm, is around. So dreams and sleep paralysis really don't work as explanations in this particular case because Steve seemed to be wide awake in all of these times, except maybe the one where he's kind of chilling out on the couch and saw the male entity approach him and whisper super fast in his ear, which must have been terrifying. But normally I look for ways of chalking things like this up to the phenomenon of sleep paralysis, for example. But, he was swimming actively. He was in the shower, showering actively. And other times he didn't seem to be going to bed or getting up from bed. So I really would tend to not lean in that direction. So now, I have some questions for you to start off this conversation. Do you think Steve may really be able to perceive the actions of beings that exist beyond our natural realm? What do you think the relationship may be between the two entities? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Now, I'm going to go to the dreamers chatting right now on the live chat to see what they had to say. Remember, if you want a chance at your question showing up or comment showing up in a future video, or the chance to sponsor a video with a super chat, turn on notifications so you catch the live reading and discussion. All right, let's see what we got here. All right. Thank you, Samantha, for the advanced code word. That way I don't have to spend time trying to figure that out later. I appreciate you on that. Let's see. Rawati, hello there, my friend. Welcome. Ooh, good. All right. Okay. All right, we got some good stuff. Come on, camera, for a second while I collect these comments. Yeah. Okay. Lorie, thank you. You guys are awesome. Night Companion. Very good contribution there, my friend. The Acolyte, I used to call him. Ooh, Brett. Man, you see, some of these comments that y'all hook me up with are like predictably good. Okay, Cindy, thank you for that. Let's see here, lady. Great comments, y'all. Yeah, Samantha, that was, I think it's been decided that was a great code word for that you chose there. Everybody seems to really like it, and that is officially going to be the code word. So we are good. Okay. Sylvia Crafts, hello there, my friends. Hello there, my friend. Also, I think I saw Gina pop in here earlier. I think I missed greeting her. I hope you're doing well, Gina. And Sylvia, you said you caught alive. Haven't been. I think you've been here before, haven't you? Pretty sure. Man, okay, it is your first time ever. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Sylvia, good to see you. Jessica Bullock, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you for hanging out with us and telling the best stories. It is my pleasure, and I'm glad you like the stories, Jessica. Another returning sponsor. Got a nice 7 sponsors so far. Every super chat puts you on the sponsor list for this video series, and I appreciate every one of y'all. Y'all are awesome. So I think I've got enough great comments to go on for now. So let's get back into that real quick before we go to the last story of the night. All right, so got some great comments here. Lorie Long says, definitely seems like a demon of some sort. And I would tend to agree, because I was thinking ghost at first, but something about the appearance of these entities with the black eyes that almost look like jewels, and that whole weird time warp of the movement, and the fact that it was in water where he sees the female. It seems it just seems like a different type of energy than a normal apparition. And who knows, maybe there's no difference between the two. I don't know. The Night Companion says, they say water is a conduit in aspects of spirituality, something that connects us all. That's a very mystical comment there, my acolyte of old. It's an interesting thought that perhaps, at least for the case of this female entity, or apparently female entity, that she is able to connect with Stephen when he's in contact with water. I wonder if that might be some sort of catalyst with her in particular. But then again, I wonder why it's different between her and then the male. Brett says, sounds like the female entity might have liked the person, and the male entity got angry and jealous and tried to scare him away. That's a really... See, the reason why I bring you all into these videos now, and I wish I had the idea to do it sooner, and I'm glad I'm doing it now, is you all have... If I'm reading a story and I come up with my own interpretation of what I'm seeing and my own idea of what's going on. It's really valuable to me to have 30 or 40 or 50 people listening at the same time, and a handful of them, I can pick their brains and have them offer their completely different perspective from mine. And this is something that I wouldn't have thought of. That the male entity, and I've heard, and there's a couple other concepts that you all offered up, but the whole jealousy aspect is something that didn't cross my mind. And he's essentially saying that, well, I wouldn't use this word because I consider this a somewhat family-friendly channel, but the male entity was attempting to block a certain body part of our protagonist in this story. I'll leave it at that. I'm sure you all know the type of blocking I'm referring to. So very, very interesting point, Brett. Cindy said, my grandma told me of a twin brother and sister that were half demon, half human hybrids, and were also tricksters that messed with people. And that brings up the whole idea of, like, the Nephilim and things that may actually, my mind just goes running wild when I think about human, demon, or angel hybrids. That's something I might just have to bring that into another video or something, because it seems really expansive and a really fascinating subject. Something maybe I might have to call my man Tony Merkel over at the Confessionals podcast and pick his brain about that. Which, by the way, I've been hearing a lot of people saying that he's been talking about me on his show recently, with people talking about dreams and things like that. If you all like my show, I'm sure you will enjoy the Confessionals podcast. Go check him out, my man Tony, and tell him that I sent you. He's on YouTube now. He's on Instagram, everything, Twitter. But you could find his podcast pretty much everywhere. Fantastic, high production value podcast. Check him out for sure. But yes, half demon, half human hybrids, there will be some sort of discussion of that in the future. So stay tuned. Lady Draco 87 says, maybe the entities were feeding off the bad energy between the guy's sister and her husband, since it was mentioned that she had an ex-husband. That's another thing that didn't cross my mind initially when I was writing. You know, I got the email about this story and I was writing it into my own style. It didn't cross my mind that it's commonly believed and it's commonly said that entities can latch on to negative energy, or so it's said out there in the world of mythology and lore and legend. It's something that could very well be an explanation for why these entities seem to have been following Stephen's sister from place to place. Maybe if that was her, indeed the relationship that she had with her husband at the time, for some reason it was attractive to these types of entities, and Stephen was one who was able to perceive that more than the rest of them. Very interesting ideas. So, thank you all again so much for listening, for contributing to the conversation. And I am going to leave it there. But before you go, if you're still listening to this part of the video, that means you are a true dreamer. So Samantha gave us a beautiful code word for this video. Birthday suit. I know it's 2 words, but we're going to say it's the code word for today's video. If you're still listening, type birthday suit into your comment down below so I can see who the real dreamers are. Be creative with it. Surprise me. Entertain me. I've entertained you. Now it's your turn to pay it back. Give me a little something to smirk about. All right? Y'all take care, my friends. Later. All right. Gonna export this bad boy real quick. All right, we are moving. We're moving, y'all. Lucid nightmares. I'm definitely interested. Let me the Co-King 420. Here's what I want you to do. This is your homework assignment, my friend. Send me your most insane, most intense, most terrifying lucid nightmare. Send me a summary of that, a description of it, of the worst and most disturbing parts of it. And I'll let you know if I would like you to write out more of that and share more of it with me if it's something that I can actually make a video out of. Oh, okay. Yeah. Because that sounds, now you're talking my language. You're talking about lucid nightmares. That sounds pretty interesting there. All right. Okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is read the last story of the night. And I'm hopefully, yeah, this one's pretty short, so I just might make it up to my 10 o'clock deadline. I'm not going to sell you all short because the sponsors have come through very well tonight, and it's much appreciated. Thank you all so far. So far, so good. Always welcoming more sponsors from Super Chats. If you want a Super Chat, you will become a sponsor of this video series automatically. Any amount will add you to that list, and you'll join the proud ranks of Cindy, Terico, Lilah, Lorie, Zen, Samantha, and Jessica. And y'all are doing awesome so far. Yeah. Yes, Samantha, you got it. You got it right. I do all the recordings on these live shows. I collect the sponsorships so that I can add them in at the end of the whole series. So I'm doing 4 stories tonight, and that means, and I do uploads once a week, Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and those 4 videos will end up as each of these 4 stories will end up as 4 separate videos over the next 4 weeks. And that's how we do it over here. Wait, what happened with Sylvia? What did Sylvia do? I'm seeing all this. I'm seeing some like yes queens in with Sylvia. Okay, don't imagine it, but I'm actually sitting here in my birthday suit. Yes, queen, indeed. You do your thing, Sylvia. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't do the same because I have to rock the merchandise over here. But yes, that is a liberating thing right there. All right, so here we go. Next and last story of the night. Let's get into it. Also, real quick, Ambar, I got your PayPal donation. I appreciate it. There's really not a way for me to. I couldn't figure out how to like respond to you, but I did get it, and I'm sorry I forgot. I keep forgetting every time I see you on here to say thank you for that, but I do appreciate it. Yeah, and actually, Ambar, if you can send me an email, I think you sent me an email. if you do send a PayPal donation, just send me an email so I can reply to it and thank you more easily, because it's kind of hard to track that down. I'd appreciate it. All right, last story. This story was referenced in a recent video about a little girl and her mimic/doppelganger. Per your request, I present to you the disturbing, if not a little bit short, true encounter with yet another strange entity from beyond the veil. True encounter with yet another strange entity from beyond the veil. After hearing this story, I hope you will answer the question I'll pose as to which element is the creepiest, because there are several to choose from. Dear Mr. X, it's me, Randy. I wanted to tell you about some of the bizarre experiences my family and I have been dealing with over the past couple of years. I really hope that you or someone you know can explain this somehow. It's gotten to the point where my wife and I almost order... Wait a minute. It's gotten to the point where my wife and I almost accept everything as is, no matter how insane it may seem. So, my wife and I recently had our second child, a little baby boy. Not long after my son was born, I started suffering from these intense episodes of what I thought, at the time, was some form of sleep paralysis. I'll give you an example. One night, we were sleeping in our bed while my son lay peacefully asleep in his crib not 10 feet away from us. I'm a pretty light sleeper, but even more so since becoming a father. I'm easily awakened and often get startled several times during my sleep cycle. On this night, I was awoken by a strange noise in the room. My eyes darted around in the dark. The sound was close by. It took a few seconds for me to adjust and focus my vision. When the image became clear, I saw something no parent would ever want to see. Hunched over my son's crib was a thing I still struggle to explain. This creature, the only way I could think to describe it was that it was like a gigantic centipede. Its body was at least 9 or 10 feet long, coiled and contorted with part of it reaching all the way up to brush against my ceiling. Its countless legs were twisted and warped, as each one attached to the wooden bars on the crib. Its head slowly turned around toward me, and the confusion and panic of the moment only deepened. Attached to what I would assume was the head of this terrifying creature, staring back at me in the dim light of the room, was a pale white, mask-like structure that resembled a human face. It had black eye holes and a twisted, gaping mouth. Smaller centipedes crawled all over its body and head, creating a sickening chattering noise that haunts me to this day. Protruding from below the mask, the monster's jaw slacked open, revealing 2 rows of jagged teeth that oozed with reddish liquid. Its hideous form undulated with an unnatural speed. The muffled sound of bones popping underneath flesh rang out constantly into the air. I believe I only stared at the creature for 2 or 3 seconds, but the images and sounds remain buried into my memory. The sight struck me with pure terror. but the emotion was soon met with feelings of utter paternal rage. The fear gave way to the realization that the creature was encroaching on my son. I somehow overcame that visceral fear and repulsion at what I was seeing and leapt out of my bed, lunging toward the beast. Before my very eyes, it vanished instantly, leaving nothing but an eerie laugh-like noise in the air of my room. At that point, I suddenly noticed I was sweating profusely and looked down to check on my son. He was sleeping as soundly as ever, thankfully. I went to the bathroom to wash my face and saw the clock on my way back to bed. It was around midnight. I was somehow able to get back to sleep after convincing myself it was all a dream or something, but not long afterward, I was awakened again. A similar sound of cackling echoed off the walls in my room. Being so close to sleep, I struggled to open my eyes again. I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder. After a few seconds, I finally got my eyes open. Directly in front of my face was the same white, porcelain-like mask I saw before, but it was changed. This time, carved into it was a similar smile-like expression. The mask had no insectoid body behind it. It simply floated next to my bed. I was so shocked that I let out a loud yell. It vanished before the sound even left my throat. Holy crap, that's terrifying. I have no idea what that thing was, but I can't shake the feeling that it was somehow related to the events that happened next. A few months after that night, my wife and I began feeling a strange foreign presence in our home. The worst part is that the presence somehow took the form of one of our children. I'll explain. The first time this occurred, I totally flipped out. It was around the time when my son had just learned how to walk. I had a day off from work and had been spending it having fun with the kids. After an entire morning of shenanigans, we decided to all lay down for a nap. About an hour into the nap, I was awakened after hearing the unmistakable sound of my son, the little one, giggling. I lifted my head and saw the little guy standing in the hallway. He ran off just as he noticed me looking at him. My eyes lit up and I smiled as I began to raise myself to go chase him down. But as I did that, I felt a weight on my arm, stopping me. I looked down and realized that my son, the same one I just saw run off into the hallway, was still fast asleep on my arm. I felt like someone had literally grabbed my heart and squeezed it with all their might. I let him down gently and proceeded to check every room in the house. I found nothing out of place. But that fact brought me no comfort. I know this is all pretty hard to believe, but it happened again one day while I was at work. I used to work swing shifts, and when I was on break, talking with my wife over the phone as she put the kids down to sleep, she briefly put me on speaker to say goodnight to them, and I heard her close the door to their room. As she started to walk down the hall toward the living room, she paused. I was left in suspense for a moment, wondering what was going on. I could hear the faint sound of troubled gasps, but she just stood there, frozen. She didn't say a word until I finally asked her what's going on. Suddenly, I heard footsteps hitting the ground hard as she sprinted back up the hall. I began to feel panic washing over my face as I asked her over and over again, "What's going on?" She eventually seemed to get a hold of herself and managed to whisper that she just saw something out of place. A child playing in the living room. It was totally impossible for either of the kids to have gotten past her. I could sense the fear in her voice. My voice cracked as I struggled to find a way to comfort her, to find words that would put her at ease. I felt utterly helpless by being so far away that night. The best I could do was tell her to go to the children, protect them, and pray over them. She made her way back to the room and found them still asleep, and she stayed there until I got home. I found her asleep in one of their beds. So many similar things have happened since that night that we've sort of gotten accustomed to it. Fleeting glimpses of a misplaced extra child seen in various parts of the house. My wife and I even joke that it feels like we have 3 children now instead of 2. Anyway, thanks again for sharing my story, Mr. X. I'll let you know if anything else of note occurs. As you know, I'm well aware that this world is full of things that we can't explain. I'll tell you what, though. I hope I never see that creature again. Oh boy, that was rough. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting tired. It's almost time to call it a night. Let's see here. Night Companion, thank you so much for your super chat, my friend. You are added to the list of sponsors. That is 8 dreamers strong right now. You all are fantastic. Looks like everybody was as comfortable with this insectoid creature as I was. Yeah, so let me know if you guys have anything to say about that story, any comments or concerns or observations that you would like to add. Go ahead and type them up into the chat section, and I will read my comments in the meantime while y'all do that. All right. Here we go. Hey there, friends. Mr. X here. Hey there, friends. Mr. X here. A few words about this story from me before I go to the Dreamer chat to discuss what they had to say. I thought it was interesting that Randy's situation started as a case of sleep paralysis, but then transitioned into times where he was definitely 100% awake, and even scenarios where his wife was the one seeing the strange things happening instead of him. Whenever that sort of development occurs, to me it gives credence to the other events in a way, at least in my mind. One thing that was brought up in another recent video I did about a story of a mimicking entity was the danger that Randy and his wife might be taking the situation a little bit too lightly. In the other video I did with the young girl who was mimicked at the age of like 2, the parents of that child who had somehow been duplicated or copied or replaced or something, the parents were paradoxically unaware that they had gained an extra child, even when they were out buying extra supplies and pieces of furniture to match what the other girl had, their actual daughter had. If you didn't see that, hopefully I'll remember to put the link in the description. I normally forget to do that, but it should be down there for you to check out. In Randy's case, they are not under any such delusion. They seem to be completely well aware of the fact that there's something trying to mimic one of their children. And it's probably a really great advantage that I would think it shouldn't be wasted. Back in the day, in the early days of the Mr. X Dreams YouTube channel, I actually spoke about several stories from Randy. And he seems to be a sort of lightning rod when it comes to these bizarre occurrences. He's definitely frequented. He's a frequent flyer. And I honestly don't know if it's creepier to see a creature like this centipede-like thing that was described earlier with the white porcelain humanoid face mask, or just the idea of an unknown entity trying to take the place of your child. Tell me which one you think is creepier in the comments down below. So I also want to know, what do you think about the creature itself? Have you ever heard of any such thing? Any kind of, it almost seems like something out of an anime or coming off the page of a manga or something like that. Some kind of berserk-esque, strange demon apostle creature. Very disturbing visual there. I hope I was able to convey the strangeness of that creature and what it was and what was hovering over the crib of Randy's child. Super disturbing. So now we're going to go check out the Dreamer chat and see what the Dreamers listening live had to say about this story. Remember, if you want to have your comments and questions have a chance to be part of a future video, or if you want the chance to sponsor a video series, make sure you have those notifications on so that you can be a part of the live readings. That's where I get all these great bits of inputs from my wonderful audience. And if you send a super chat during a stream, you're automatically listed as a sponsor of the video when it comes out, which I think is pretty cool. And it's always appreciated. So let's see what they had to say. All right, let's see. What do y'all got? What do y'all got for me right now? Yeah, I'm definitely running out of steam here. Gotta finish this bad boy up. Nice one, Brett. I like that. Yeah. All right, I'm getting y'all's comments squared away over here. Why would he block an eyebrow? I'm not sure what you mean there, Shinfits. Maybe I missed maybe I missed another comment you were referring to. Yeah. Agreed, Ray. Agreed. Let's see here. I'll add that one. Yep, agreed, Lorie. Doppelgangers. I'll comment on that in just a second. Whoa, I just I just got thrown off out of whack here with the what do you call it? The chat. It just kind of flipped out on me. Trying to regain my bearings here. Good one there, Jessica. Thank you for that. Add that. Nice one, Lady Draco. Here we go. Now we're getting the good stuff. Oh, Mary C. Great comment. Great comment. Oh, Ambar. Going the Freudian route. That's interesting. I'll add that in. Yeah, y'all are really getting it in with these comments. This is really interesting stuff. Dark Phoenix, very interesting comment as well. All right. I will never be a Blue Falcon Knight Companion. I haven't heard that phrase in a long time. Yeah, that's not me. But there does come a time where I have to go to sleep because I've got a job. All right, let's go. Finish this thing up. Yeah, Lady Draco, that's the one I was talking about. Oh yeah, by the way, while I'm reading these and talking about this, go ahead and let's get a code word. Let's get a code word brewing so we can finish this up once we get done. All right, here we go. All right, so Cindy S said, "No way I would ever slept in that place again." I would definitely have to agree with that. Brett said, "I'd cover my arms in Axe body spray, light them on fire, and hit that creepy thing with a flaming right hook. Although, must admit it's only good for a few swings." Absolutely understand your motivation there. Sounds a little bit rash, but hey, if you have the presence of mind to use yourself as a flaming ball of whoop ass to defend your child, then I totally support your decision there. Ray Ayanami says, "I would be terrified as well, especially if you put your child down to sleep and suddenly see another child in a different room. That is a sensation that I would imagine is top tier horrifying, especially knowing that there's no way another child would be there in the house. Again, it could be some type of hallucination or seeing things that aren't there for some other reason, but that the idea of seeing that and thinking that it's real is terrifying." Lorie Long says, "I don't know why doppelganger stories creep me out so much. Little known fact, doppelgangers are one of my top 2 greatest fears as far as things that the concepts that creep me out and make me feel a little anxious. So yeah, I don't know why either. Really, maybe just the idea of something that is so subversive. It's trying to deceive every aspect of your life into its own and warp itself into a replacement for you. I don't know. Something about that just really gets to me. Dark Phoenix said, I think a child might have passed away in the house and perhaps wants to be a part of that family. The creature could be a type of entity that wants to take over one of the children or insert themselves into the family otherwise. Very interesting point. Another one of those perspectives that I wouldn't have thought of on my own, which is why I value your all's presence here during these live readings to help contribute to these discussions. My favorite part of every video. Okay, Brett says, I was thinking changeling, but usually they hide the real child and take its place. Yeah, and these mimic type entities seem to be more keen to just inserting themselves into an existing family and hopefully go unnoticed. Very strange. Jessica Bullock says, I wonder why the entity takes the form of children during times when it would be impossible to mistake it for the children. Makes me wonder if the goal was solely to terrorize the family. Another very good point. It could very well have been, rather than this creature needs a family or needs to be taken care of for some reason, or maybe that's the larval form of something else, and it requires the presence or energy or actual physical caretaking of a human family. It could be that, or could just be there to intentionally terrorize them. That's a very good point. Lady Draco 87 says, maybe the entity takes the form of children since children are innocent and no one would really question or suspect a child. That's another good point. The intentions behind this thing makes it seem even more devious if that is the case indeed. Mary C. says, it has the no mask and steals the soul of its victim. The victim it sees express emotion. Can't explain the doppelganger toddler, though. The no mask, I believe I've heard of that. I do need to do some more research on it, though. But the idea of it copying or absorbing something through the expression makes a little bit of sense, because the mask actually changes expression during the story. Very, very interesting idea there as well. Ambar Chavez says, having so many feet in a dream makes me think they're possibly feeling overwhelmed and fearful, juggling with a baby and other life responsibilities. Centipedes can also mean danger coming. So now this is a good one to end on, because it's very psychological and very grounded, mundane. Almost what I said earlier when I saw it was the Freudian approach to these types of things, where if indeed, and like I always say, if you're laying down or you're sleeping or you just woke up or you're about to go to sleep or you're trying to sleep or you're anywhere near a bed or a couch, there's a chance that whatever happened to you was a dream or some kind of sleep paralysis type of thing. And if it was indeed a dream, having an entity show up that's looming over your child and is bloody and it's got all this creepy, crawly stuff going on with it, and this bizarre, haunting mask, could represent the fact that you don't know what your life is going to become, or who you're going to be, or who your child's going to be, as a result of the stresses and responsibility that come along with raising a child, and having that huge responsibility on your shoulders. And the idea of centipedes appearing in a dream, meaning danger coming. Of course, when you're a parent, you're sort of always anticipating danger. You're always thinking danger could be lurking around any corner, and you have to pretty much be prepared for that at any given moment when you're out and about, or you're just even at home with a child, a toddler, knowing that the kid, you have to keep an eye on them, that you have to make sure that they're not climbing up on something or sticking something somewhere that it shouldn't be, sticking forks into electrical outlets and things like that. So yeah, it's a very stressful and nerve-wracking thing, and it could very well lead to very real feeling sensations and experiences like this. So very interesting to bring it all back and cover all the bases with this particular story. So thank you all very much for listening and for participating in this discussion. And now we need a code word. So I'm going to go over to the Dreamer chat. And now we need a code word. So I'm going to go over to the Dreamer chat and see if I can dig something up. All right. What do we got here for the code word, y'all? Fire, mandible, creepy crawlers, bug spray. I like that, Brett. That's a good one. Bug spray. That would definitely have been coming in handy there. Let's see here. Chaos Theory Productions. Hello there, my friend. Good to see you. I'm going to type the code word. Bug spray. All right, so my friend Brett came up with a great code word, bug spray. If you're still listening to this part of the video, I want to hear from you. In your comment down below, type in bug spray. Be creative, be funny, be fun, have a great time with it, surprise me. That way, if you type in bug spray into your comment, I'll know that you heard all the way to the end, and I'll see you. Until next time, my friends, catch you later. All right, and that is the last one for the night. Let's see here. All right, I'm naming this file Human Centipede, even though it's not really that, but that's not going to be the name of the actual video, though. All right, let's see. 6now25. Hello there, my friend. Good to see you. If anybody's got any last-minute sponsorship super chats they want to throw in, this is the last chance, because what I'm going to do now is read off the list of sponsors for the end of the videos coming up, and then I will be logging off for the night. Let's see here. I think I missed a couple of people popping in. Merple Derple. Hello there, my friend. I love that name, Merple Derple. That's just lovely. I gotta make sure my posture's on point. If y'all ever see me like slouching or anything like that in these videos, please do let me know so I can fix that, because I'm not trying to have any more back and neck problems than I already have. All right, okay. Yeah, 6now25. Yeah, I'm finishing up right now, but this stream, if you guys don't know, the streams are actually all available now in a new live stream playlist on YouTube. So if you want to go and look at the full unfiltered live streams whenever I do them, they will be showing up there. But if you want to see the nice polished edited ones with all the bells and whistles, that's something else. That's what comes out once a week. But yeah, I mean, if you want to just have something to put on in the background and listen to all my mistakes and all that stuff, you're more than welcome to do that as well. Yeah. You guys gotta remind me to drink water and to make sure my posture's on point. That's always appreciated. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Special thanks to this week's Super Chat sponsors: Cindy, Terico, Lilah, Lorie, Zen, Samantha, Jessica B., and the Night Companion. Thank you all very much. You all are awesome. Let's see here. Sponsors. 6/30/2021. Got it. All right, y'all. Thank you all so much for helping me out with the discussions, for hanging out, having a good time, being cool, being yourselves, taking care of each other, and taking care of me. So, hey, yeah, you got all the throat and chest sounds and all the burps that I forget to edit out of there, or to mute myself, and even the times where I mute myself and forget to take it off mute for a couple minutes. Yeah, sorry about that again. I gotta really stop doing that. But y'all take care. Have a great weekend. If you're in the States, enjoy your 4th of July celebrations. Be safe, and y'all have a good night. I will catch y'all next time. And until next time, I'm Mr. X, and may your nights be full of dreams. Take care, my friends. Love you all.